Good morning, everybody. It is 9 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started so we can hopefully get out of here soon. I call this August the 11th, 2026 TPO Technical Committee meeting to order. Looks like we have a quorum, so that's good. We will do brief introductions today, so start here with Mike.
Mike Conger, TPO staff.
Craig Lipke, TPO staff.
Dallas D. Armand, Knoxville, Knox County Planning.
Sonny Defoe, Blount County Highway Department, proxy for Chico Messer.
James Temple, Sevier County Planning, proxy for Mayor Larry Waters for the last time.
Greg Buckner, Little North City.
Jack Wall, City of Loudon, Loudoun County.
Brian Boone, City of Maryville Engineering and Public Works.
Daryl Smith, Town of Farragut.
Doug Burton, TPO Coordinator.
Jim Snowden, Knox County Engineer and Public Works.
Tom Claybo, City of Knoxville Engineering.
Dakota Gentry, City of Alcoa.
Blake Sarton, Metro Knoxville Airport Authority.
Catherine Baldwin, Anderson County.
Roger Flynn, City of Oak Ridge.
Danielle Myers, Tennessee Vans.
Troy Ebert, TPOt.
Dallas, do we have anybody virtual today?
Anne Marie, Ann Way, Cody Mitchell, and Michael A.C. Witter are on Zoom.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for your attendance. Do we have any amendments for the agenda, Doug?
No.
Okay, no amendments for the agenda. So on to item number 2, the minutes for the June 9th, 2026 Technical Committee meeting. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to review those. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. The item is approved. Item number 3 is the fiscal year 26 to 27 Transportation Planning Work Program Amendment, City of Oak Ridge Corridor Study, Tennessee and Central Avenues.
I'll start this off. The City of Oak Ridge is seeking to conduct a corridor study along Tennessee and Central Avenue to bolster the multimodal accessibility in that area, and they're requesting TPO planning funds. The city will manage the study and a consultant will be engaged. In our work program, we have a couple of buckets where we had some excess planning funds and we put them in there for the purpose of being able to fund planning studies. Some of y'all, when we first put the work program together, some of y'all came forward with some planning studies at that time, but we had some extra money we could put in there in case studies like this come up from time to time. So we do have the ability to fund this. One other clarification I wanted to make is we call this an amendment, but after consultation with TDOT, because we already had this money programmed in the work program, we're just moving it. But within the work program, it doesn't have to be an amendment. But we thought for transparency, we still wanted to bring it forward and let y'all know what's going on and let y'all go ahead and vote on it and approve it. There's a picture of the study area, and I don't know if Roger has anything more to add.
Not a whole lot. This is kind of an ongoing efforts on the city's part for Jackson Square. We've already done one end of Tennessee Avenue. We built a fountain in the Jackson Square area a few years ago. We renovated the parking lots a few years ago. We're doing sidewalk work right now in-house. And this is just a furtherance of the effort to improve Jackson Square.
If you'll go to the next slide, I'll just show. They propose this to be done over an 8 to 12 month timeline. The project itself would be $100,000, and we have 2 different buckets. We have some what's called complete street funds, and those can be 100%. So we're funding half of it with that for $50,000, and then our regular planning funds are 85% federal and state and require 15% local match. So that would be an additional $42,500 of federal and state. And Oak Ridge would put up $7,500. And then we still, down at the below, show in our bucket, we still have $161,000 in the complete street and $426,000 in planning funds. So if anyone else out there has any studies, feel free to come forward and request funds. But as a staff, we review this and we think it makes sense and we recommend approval.
Mr. Boone, do you have a comment?
Nope. I was just excited to hear Roger give details on on the study.
Yeah, I brought one of our planners with you. He can get real specific, but it's probably more information than you might want.
That sounds like a good project, so appreciate you bringing it forward. Is there a motion to approve?
A motion approved.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. That item's approved.
We'll manage it. I think that's what you're asking.
Sorry. Item number 4 is the fiscal year 2026 to 2029 TIP approval update. Been waiting on this one, so looking forward to Craig's update.
Yeah, big news. Fiscal 26-29 TIP after extended gestation was approved effective August 1st. This was adopted by or recommended by this agency and adopted by the executive board last October. So we're nearing on a year on the approval process, but the FTA and Federal Highway team have signed off on that. Remedial work here, of course, TIP programs funding for implementation. So these are projects that are actively moving forward. Reminder that this TIP now does supersede the previous TIP. So anything that if we're working with local programs on submitting a request for a new authorization obligation, that must reference the new TIP, not the prior TIP. Again, projects must be consistent with the mobility plan, top line dollars, nearly $1 billion of investments here in the region. You look at that summary kind of broken down. It's just kind of a familiar table. Again, that nearly $1 billion is technically $968 million, 30 individually listed projects, as well as then 7 project kind of grouping categories. You see that broken down. Relatively small number of individually listed TDOT projects, just 4 in the mobility in the TIP right now. 26 local projects broken down as you see it there between 23 roadway, 3 transit items, which are kind of groupings as well across multiple transit providers. Bike and pedestrian projects are over in the grouping on the right side. You'll see that 16 individually bike and pedestrian projects in that bike and pedestrian grouping, 9 congestion mitigation, air quality type projects, signal improvements, ITS, things of that nature in that grouping. Planning and studies is kind of a placeholder grouping. There's a Hill Avenue study for the city of Knoxville, as well as that's where the funding for the ongoing pavement management program funds live. And then we do have a preservation operations and safety grouping that doesn't have anything other than just some placeholder money in there right now, and as well as the 3 TDOT groupings. Taking a quick peek at fiscal constraint, just kind of where we are as we went through. We're always kind of adjusting these things as we go. This is the current picture of that. The TIP revenue, $108 million, programmed just over $74 million for $33 million and change balance on the STBG program. That TAP program, as well as the carbon reduction program, very similar size. In the tens of millions of dollars of revenue, 8 million and 7 million programmed prospectively, and then a balance of $2.5 million on the TAP program and 3 million and about 3.5 million on the carbon reduction program. A note on carbon reduction, we are approaching the end of the current transportation bill. The tea leaves that we're hearing is that carbon reduction program probably will not be continued in the whatever the next transportation bill looks like. We're projecting revenue. If that transportation bill or when that transportation bill comes to pass, we will need, and if the carbon reduction program is removed from that bill, we will need to go back and take a look at alternates to fund those projects to continue that. So just kind of keep that in mind. That's something that we are anticipating that we're going to need to do when, in fact, Congress takes action on a new transportation bill. That program reserve that we keep in mind, the minimum we want to keep is 10% of that overall funding. You'll see what that is from the STBG program, the TAP program, and the carbon reduction program there at the bottom. We were fairly conservative in programming, particularly on that STBG program, so we have a pretty good balance there. We anticipate that we may be able to have a midstream project call this time. It's been a few cycles since we've been able to do that. And not listed on here as well, carbon congestion mitigation, air quality, CMAQ PM 2.5 funds. We do have an annual allocation of that. I think it's around 6 million. Is that the right number? 5, somewhere in the 5, so approaching 6 million annually that we also may be able to look at having a project call for that. So just keep those things in mind. New this time, we have a new e-tip platform and project tracker that's available online. It's kind of a soft rollout right now, so some different functionality that we'll see, and we'll see how the dangers of live demos work here. How do I switch that back over to get to the... Oh, that actually might have done it right there. All right. So this is available from the tip page on our website, and we'll kind of share this information out. Again, we're working on kind of continuing to get the functionality of this. And this is actually something that's a statewide platform, so it's going to be something that's familiar for all of the MPOs have this same platform that's been generated. So you can look up project information on here, sort it by, if you want to look at the lead agency, you can sort those by county here on projects, sort by project type, where again, we are kind of working on some of the settings and tweaking the knobs on what this thing looks like, but you can look up that information. Let's say if we pull up then, here's that Boyds Creek Highway project for Sevierville. Bring you over to a map. You've got the program information that is there. You can download a PDF of that project tip page directly there. So we're kind of excited about this thing. You can also, another thing that will be available on there when there are, and this is the pending, it's not quite turned on yet, but this is the overall tip there. You can look at both approved and pending planned revisions as amendments or modifications that are there. There is a couple of different ways to look at things by map. You can sort that in. If you're just looking for projects within a given county, let's pull up Knox County. That'll bring all of the projects that are within Knox County, as well as then kind of a category types. And this is something that we're also kind of working to make sure that those align with the appropriate categories. See the program broken down that way. Interactive map, very similar. Kind of some toggles on the way that you look at it as well. And I go across here. Visualizations is kind of a cool one as well for people that are interested. You can see kind of that pie charts of kind of where the funding is going by fund type, lead agency, performance measures that it's affected. So I'm kind of excited about that. Let me bring us back maybe to here. Yep. And then, again, kind of walk through those as we were doing. One thing that we do anticipate being a future functionality is the local agencies will be able to have a login to access that, and you can submit amendment and modification requests directly, kind of coordinate those through the system once we get that functionality stood up. So that's going to be something that's coming. We're excited about what that may allow us to kind of just direct communication on those things. So. I'm trying to think.
The groupings, the groupings get lost?
What about
I mean, they're not individually listed.
The groupings? Oh, yeah, I can back up to that. So groupings, they are not. We look to, and this is a functionality that is still coming. I'll grab one of the groupings. Right now, you'll see the project. So here's that bike and pedestrian grouping. You will see the programming. You will not see the project list right now. There will be a link right here where this is, where you can see the individual project list is what we anticipate. And again, like I said, this is kind of a soft opening right now. That will be added. That does remind me, though, I passed out to those of you that are there a project summary for your individual agency's programming within the TIP. It has a list of all of your projects, kind of a top line, how much money is programmed, the federal amount, and then I guess the important page that I'll remind everyone is page 2 is obligations that are programmed for this year. So these would be things that are kind of front of mind that we're trying to obligate as soon as we can. Obviously, that date is, we're approaching the end of this first fiscal year of this TIP, and then we will move into obviously subsequent obligations. But these should be things that are nearing obligation or for our transit partners need to be flexed over to FTA, and at any time these are ready to go. If you have not begun to start doing your project initiation with local programs, that will be something to get caught up on now and get going to get your projects, that first notification to proceed for NEPA if it's a new project or a new study. So I will pause for a moment, or if there are any questions.
Well, in lieu of questions, I will say I appreciate your guys' work on this as always. You guys do great work, and this new tool looks really cool. So I appreciate your all's work on that. Doug and Craig and Mike, your entire staff always do great work, and appreciate your hard work on it. So.
We appreciate that. If you have any questions, again, feel free to reach out to me, and we'll share out some more information and that direct link to the new project tracker as well.
Well, good deal. Seeing no comments, we'll move on to the next item. Item number 5 is update on the I-40, I-75 corridor planning environmental linkages study. Looks like TPO staff has this, but has some TDOT folks here as well, so appreciate that.
Yeah, that's right. I was just going to give an update. And like you said, we have some TDOT folks here if there are some questions. If you'll remember at our last meeting, TDOT and their consultant was here and gave us a great presentation about the Pell study. Then the next week they had their public meeting. So there was a little bit more information at the public meetings, and I thought it'd be appropriate to catch everyone up. Just to remind you, this is the study area. It's a relatively large study area, mainly because they looked at the Beltway. But next slide. That was a study area. And the alternatives they considered, and there's a flyer that they gave out at I put it at your station. This was given out at the public meeting. But the alternatives considered were adding general purpose lanes, looking at a collector distributor network, choice lanes, the I-75 bypass, looking at transportation system management and operation improvements, a more targeted approach, and then express buses. As I mentioned, there was 3 public meetings. The TPO staff kind of divided and conquered these. I will say I thought they were very well attended. They were all pretty busy. And like I said, TDOT and the consultants did a great job. They had a lot of information there. They had a couple different presentation styles. They had boards there, or they also had a loop presentation that I watched, which I thought was pretty good. So we went out there and attended those. This is on your handout. It's a little bit hard to see, but when they came and talked to us, they basically just showed us the blue area. They were kind of through the level 1 screening and the level 2 screening, which had narrowed down to the interstate widening, the bypass, the choice lanes, and the target approach. But at the public meetings, they had gone ahead and shown that they're down to, at least in the preliminary Pell, recommending the interstate widening and the choice lanes. They have still some follow-up work to do. They will continue to put together some information for FHWA and prepare the report, and it should be prepared sometime in the fall, and that will comply with the statutory Pell conditions and kind of kick off the NEPA phase. So that kind of updated. We do have I put some questions from the kind of we've been talking about from the TPO staff, and the Pell won't answer this, and TDOT can't answer this today, but these are just things we're kind of, concerned about. Obviously the big question is which of these will they ultimately choose? What will be the final cost? Especially if it's just interstate widening, they don't do the choice lanes where they have private investment. How many phases will that project be? How long will it take to construct? And then obviously, how will it be paid for? At the public meeting, they had pros and cons on a lot of the options, and they almost all said no funding available. So that there's, the big question is how will this be paid for? And my understanding, like the interstate widening, it could be $1 billion or more, and the choice lanes maybe even double or triple that. So our long-range plan has about $5.4 billion in projects. So if this is $1.5 billion, you're talking about, a 20%, 18%, 20% impact of a new project going into our region. So, that's one of our big questions. If there is no money and this ranks high, what does that mean with impacting our other projects? If it moves up the ladder, and there's no funding, the only way to pay for it is at the cost of other projects. They'll have to shift money around. So what is that impact? Next slide. During the presentation, they mentioned that there would be some aspects of these other alternatives included in that. And I think that's going to happen, but we didn't clearly see that at this point. That may be in the final Pell study. We know, we're pretty sure they're going to move the truckway stations, but we don't have any final decision on that. So that's an important concern for that whole corridor. And then when they do the construction, it's gonna take a long time. Is there any small projects they can do in that corridor to help alleviate as people will start deviating off that during construction time? Is there things we should be doing ahead of that to kind of get going in that corridor? And then the I-75 bypass, even though it did not come up in the recommended alternatives, we still hear whispers that there still could be a project out there. It just may not be an immediate project, but there may still be merit to continue to look at that or a different version of that out there. So we don't have any final decision on that project. So those are things we've just been discussing as staff. We'll start our next long-range plan sometime next year. So, this would be a big input going into that about how it impacts our whole region. So just some things we're thinking about. I don't know. I know several of you also attended those meetings. I don't know if you had any additional takeaways or that kind of captures it. Or I'll ask staff if y'all had any additional comments. So I guess we'll just kind of keep working with TDOT and we'll see how this shakes out, especially when they prepare the final Pell and the study in the fall. So,
Do we know roughly when that'll be?
Yes, we're expecting that late September, early October. We should have our final report. We also have, Thank you. We also have a technical working group that's supposed to be happening over this month. So several of y'all that have been involved in that technical working group will be there as well and be able to voice more questions. Again, we don't have all the answers, but the answers that we can provide, we'll work through that in the technical working group. Any other questions?
Thank you so much, Chris. Any other questions? Catherine?
Was economic development of the areas that the bypass would positively impact considered in the studies?
Yes, economic development was obviously looked at too. Ultimately, it came down to the corridor study was really focused in on that 40-75 corridor, that 17 miles. And while the bypass, I still believe, is a great project as well, it really did not impact the traffic along that corridor enough that we saw that benefit in traffic reduction. So when you're really looking at how does this reduce congestion, how does that improve the mobility and the feasibility of it, it really just did not impact the 40-75 corridor. But I think we all recognize that, it's a good project. And so there needs to be continued conversation there.
Another factor that should play into it is that if folks are using the, 58 that goes in front of K-25, there are 7 nuclear construction projects going on in that corridor and more to come. And that is the bypass for Knoxville at this point. And mixing that kind of improvement with through traffic should be a major consideration.
Thank you.
Catherine, I will say we're tracking those projects. It seems like there's a new one every week in the paper. And there was also, Mike was showing me, like if they get this campus project, it could be thousands of new jobs. And so, the impact, we're going to have to address that somehow, whether it's a beltway or something. You can't just continue to put that many employees in that area without giving some relief.
Right. And
those people
the state keeps participating in marketing and attracting those businesses, but I don't see them addressing the traffic by just adding to an existing corridor. And if you live in Oak Ridge, and I know we've got people here that do, if you try to get out of Oak Ridge in the evening, you can't. It takes hours. If you're trying to get into Oak Ridge, it's also very difficult. One thing is that it's kind of fallen off the radar seemingly is for the old Oak Ridge Highway to have a southbound access to Pellissippi, because that is the principal way of getting in and out of the city. aside from the west access. And every day, many times during an hour, someone has to go north from the old Oak Ridge Highway and make a U-turn to go south. It is one of the biggest bottlenecks that's out there, and is a real driver in terms of the incidents in the area. And I just hope TDOT is taking a multifaceted approach to their consideration.
Thank you for those comments. Seeing no other discussion on that particular item, we will go to item number 6, which is TDOT and FHWA updates. Troy, we have anything specifically?
Yeah, we've got a few things. So on the screen here, we are in the process of updating our long-range plan statewide. We're going to be focusing on corridors of significant statewide value. There is a QR code here. If you all would like to look at that or take a look at that later, this will take you to the survey itself, so you all can make comments, share, get this information out, get the word out, looking at what we're working on with this plan. There will be several in-person events. They're going to be in some of the more rural areas, and we've focused on that not to eliminate the MPOs, but we just got done with that study, we as in the MPO staff. We have a lot of great data from your all's plan, Lakeways, and the Tri-Cities as well. And we have that public comment, so we're going out to some of the more rural areas to try to get that information as well. But please participate in this. This will be going on. You'll be hearing more about this as the year goes on. Mike and I were going to kind of hit this. So our SPP application is open. The state partnership program, if you go on and look at it, the information is there. You can view a PDF of the application. If you would like to apply, you have until the end of the month. Contact me. Do y'all have the link as well?
Yeah,
if not, I'll get it to you.
We provided that when it first came open a couple weeks ago.
The link to the portal?
We sent both a link to the actual application itself, which is an online application, but and also a PDF of that, so you can see beforehand what the questions are and work on that. But it has actually been updated now to where you can save your progress along the way. That was one of the comments as a MPO statewide we made to TDOT, and they were able to update their online portal to accommodate saving, so you don't have to do it all in one shot, apparently. So, I threw this slide in. We were going to talk about this under other business, but I figured it made more sense while the TDOT updates were going on. The big thing with this one, different from previous years, is it also includes the Transportation Alternatives Program, the TAP funding that the state gets. Of course, TPO, we get our own allocation of TAP money that we do through our call, but there's also a statewide pot of money that TDOT makes available. So they're doing that call at the same time as this SPP. Also with that, the multimodal access grant is similar to TAP. Both TAP and multimodal access are focused on bicycle and pedestrian projects. And the TAP is 20% local match. The multimodal is only 5%. So those are great projects. Save Knoxville's had several of those. I don't know about other jurisdictions in the region. So the multimodal access grant do typically have to involve directly a state route project. I mean, connecting to a state route for the most part. And these are somewhat, to spread the money around, they want to keep these at a smaller scale. So I think $2.5 million and below is what they're offering for those projects. And as TPO staff, we want to help you out and be aware of what you're applying for. So please reach out, let us know if you're working on these applications, and if you need a letter of support or anything like that. So,
one thing with the TAP that is much different from previous years is it now includes engineering and the other costs. Before, it was construction only. The locals had to take care of everything. TAP now covers all that. It is at a little bit higher rate, but it's there. And they want to get this money on the ground as quick as we can. So definitely apply for these projects. With the SPP, it's tied in with that. If you've already done some work on it, if you have planning studies that have already been done with that, include all that in the application. If you've already done some work along that corridor, let's say you've already done upgrades on your curb ramps or something like that, you're working through on a plan, make sure that information's in there. I had sent several emails when this first came out with a copy of the plan. By the way, you guys just got done with this plan a couple years ago, or some of them were back to 2016. I was like, they're here. This is how we get to it. And it's a little bit different than how we've done it in the past. So we want to make sure that's there, but they're trying to loosen this money up to a point where it's easier for you all to be able to get this on the ground. But that last one on there, coordinate with TPO staff, that is huge. And that's not just for the multimodal and TAP, but this is also for any other projects that you all would like. And if you have a project that we don't know about that needs to be in here and you don't have SPP funds to put into it at this point, this is how we're building our hopper and our kind of like our backlog of what we need. So we're also calling for projects, if you have already done work on it, that's great. If you have funds that you can put in with it, that's wonderful. It would be, easier to help get that in the long range plan. But even if you don't have anything for it as of today, but that like for Sevier County, 416, that was one that we're working on. It's outside the MPO, but that was one that they're pushing and trying to get done. But if you've got something in Knox County, like I won't call any specific project, but if you have something that we're looking at and it's not in there yet, go ahead and put it in there, or reapply for projects that you may not have received in the past, because this has changed up a little bit. So take a look at it. Time is ticking though. So there is one section of it that is specific on being able to get a little more time, and that's not on the application itself, but that's the approvals and the through the board actions, letters of support, some stuff like that. They will be taking those a little bit longer, and all that information is on the page that these gentlemen have already sent out for you. But if you have any questions about it, please reach out, let us know. We want to get this money down. We want to turn that money into concrete and asphalt and serve our citizens as quick as we can.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, I probably should have put a bullet point for that, but there is a requirement that you get a commitment to the funding from your elected, the city council, county commission. Before, I think you had to have that with the application, but they are allowing, that doesn't have to be provided by August 31st. The deadline for that is December 31st. I'm pretty sure about that. But again, all the information's on the actual website and a bunch of FAQs also. So any other questions about SPP?
Yeah, that you kind of led into what I was going to ask Troy. It was kind of specific that what they're looking for is a guarantee of funding. And in the past, just being in the TIP was sufficient enough for the application itself. But like if we need a resolution from our city council, which could take a month or two cycle, I guess that's the question, is how then do you do that after the application period has ended in, say, October or November? Do you just send it directly to TPOt, or do they ask for that? How does that work, Troy?
Once you have it done, you can send it in to the email address, and the information's in there. That's specifically on there for the SPP. And then once that's gathered in, it'll be put with your file and then continuing on.
Yeah, good deal. I like the fact that the TAP now allows for engineering costs, so that's nice. That's something that we haven't seen in the past, so appreciate that.
Yep, that's been a hindrance to that program for years. It's just how it was, and especially with our smaller communities, they don't have engineers on staff, or they don't have funding to get these things rolling. That's why multimodal was so robust and sought after. So, but yeah, absolutely, really looking forward to this.
Good deal. Good report there. Thank you so much.
Mr. Stoughton, two other things real quick I wanted to make sure that you are aware of as staff. You all should have everyone here, I believe, should probably received an email from Jonathan Russell. He is going to be handling so they're changing a few things with staffing, local programs. Jonathan is he's excellent as far, he used to do what I do with OCT. He's now embedded with local programs. So He's a great contact for y'all with them and the team there. So if you have not received that email or contact with him, please let me know. We'll make sure that we get you all touch base with the programs. Jonathan Russell is his name. And then the other thing I wanted to make sure, Kristen got up and talked a little while ago. Appreciate her being here. Jason Schultz is here, white shirt back there. Make sure you, alternative delivery projects. So and he's also taking care of the Pell. If you have questions on these or specific details, our staff is here. Please reach out and use them while they're here. We're greatly appreciative for y'all being here. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Well, I did have one more thing. We've got several staff that haven't had the local programs training, and that training's been dormant for a while. Do we have any idea when that may reopen?
So they are working on it. What the director of local, Steve said, Steve Allen, said, if you currently have it, you're good to go. Keep going. As soon as training is available, they will be reaching out with the new manuals and information. But if most of yours is probably expired at this point, they are still honoring those. It's not going to be any kind of issue at all. But I do not have a date as far as when it's coming, but it is coming. They are getting stuff done.
Thank you so much. We're kind of struggling with that. Looks like other folks are as well. So we appreciate the consideration on it. So, well, good deal. Other business, number 7, Doug.
Yeah, we actually have a couple slides here, but first our executive board is August 26th. Then the next tech committee would be September 8th. We're trying to figure out a staff. As Craig said, we're going to have to do some tip reconciliation. We try not to have a December meeting, but we're going to have 2 meetings. So whether that's September, November, or October, November. Sometimes we end up having December, but we're going to try to avoid that if possible. But we'll let you know as soon as we can. But we're going to have at least 2 more meetings. Then I think Mike wanted to touch a little bit on
that. Just real briefly here, an update on the Federal Surface Transportation Reauthorization Craig referenced earlier. The IIJA, the current bill, will expire at the end of the fiscal year, which is September 30th. The Senate has passed a continuing resolution that would continue that funding up until December 11th. The House would still need to vote on that, however, and they won't do that until they return from their August recess. This is like a clean resolution that would continue the funding for the core formula fund programs at a prorated amount for that period of time, but there are some non-competitive, the competitive programs, SS4A and some other things would not be included in that. But for the most part, the main funding sources would move forward. As far as the reauthorization, there has been one proposal out there from the House Transportation Infrastructure Committee called Build America 250 Act. That one seems pretty good from the initial analysis of it. They'll largely continue what IIJA has had in it. The Senate hasn't put forward anything yet. They're still working through their process. And of course, that other one has to go through other committees. And so can that all get done by December 11th? That seems questionable at best. So it could just keep getting these short-term extensions with everything going on, midterms and everything. It's very likely that they'll just keep having to extend the IIJA until they can get the full reauthorization through. So that's a quick update. We'll keep you posted.
And then I had one more slide. As you know, last week or so, we had elections. So we're going to have a big change to our executive board. We have a new Blount County mayor, a new Knox County mayor. The Knox County Commission chair got defeated, so there will be a new chair. We have a new Sevier County mayor, a new Town of Farragut mayor, and the East Tennessee Development representative got defeated, so they'll be appointing someone new. So we'll have a big changeover. We do have a 101 presentation, and we try to reach out to all the mayors and let them know what the MPO does. And if we're going to come out and talk to your jurisdiction, we'll be sure to involve you in that discussion also. But we'll be trying. I know they'll be very busy their first month on the ground, but we'll be trying to see when we can get in to talk to them, to let them know. And all the different campaign material that came through my house, infrastructure was at the top of a lot of it. A lot of them said, I'm going to do that without any new funding, so we'll have to see how that will work. But infrastructure was one of the top things that they all said we needed to improve in East Tennessee. So I know they'll all be very interested in how the transportation funding works. So.
Wait, we're also not sure about some of the cities that may go in November. Alcoa, Maryville, Oak Ridge. It could, so there could be other new members, but we haven't heard. So
but we'll see how those shake out. So that's all I had on that one.
Doug?
Yes.
I've already got the letter that I found from the last time for Mayor McCarter to sign after September the 1st to appoint me as proxy. So
okay,
I guess that's based on when we changed the bylaws. That's something we all need to do.
Well, we haven't 100% officially changed the bylaws, but that's where we're headed. I will be bringing the bylaws back. So we kind of got hung up on the bylaws, and then I thought, well,
I'm still going to bring a new proxy notice.
I didn't want to. They have to be approved at 2 meetings, and I thought, well, we should just wait till all the new people are seated and not approve them at one time, and then try to do it the other. So those will come back in the fall. But yeah, we may need new proxy letters, especially if there's a new mayor.
I guess that brings up the point too. Well, we hadn't had traditionally participation from some of those counties on the executive board at the mayor level. So it's an opportunity here to maybe engage with them and see if Blount County, Sevier County mayors, want to come to the meetings rather than proxies. We're interested in those discussions too.
Good deal. Sounds good. Item number 8 is public comment. Is anyone here from the public, either present or virtually, would like to comment to the board today? Seeing none, we will move to item 9 with, do I have a motion to adjourn? We are adjourned. Thank you for attendance.